everybody. My name is Kaya Wirtz. I am a speech and language pathologist who works at within Desert Sands Unified School District. And today we're going to be talking about emergent literacy and with kind of a focus on learning to read with AAC or some of our minimally verbal students. So emergent literacy is the term that we use to describe the reading and writing experiences of young children before they learn how to read conventionally. So part of that is going to be the understanding that text and pictures have meaning. They're going to be learning how to hold a book right side up, to realize that we turn pages from right to left, and that we read from left to right, and to learn about environmental print. So that's things like signs in grocery stores and stop signs. They're going to be learning to read some words like sight words and their own name. So all of that is a part of what we call emergent literacy and print skills. So those are kind of some of the prerequisites and things that we work on before students learn how to conventionally read. So I'm going to be talking about an acronym called C Growth that I learned about in a webinar. And the S is going to stand for shared reading. So this is the bulk of what you're going to be doing with your students. And that is you and your child sitting down and you're having an active participation in reading together. You're learning, your children are learning about how to predict how a story will progress. Learning that the pictures are connected to the text and they also have meaning, learning about the vocabulary represented in stories, and some of the different concepts of printed words. So you're going to point out the cover of the book. You're going to explicitly show them and state who the author and the illustrator are and what the jobs and functions of those people are. And then you're going to do what we call a picture walk. So you're going to go through the story just looking at the pictures and talk about what you think is happening. So the background that I have for our video here today is from a book called Mrs. McNosh Hangs Up Her Wash. So you'll read the title and you'll look at the pictures and you can talk about what kinds of clothing items you see hanging here on the line. And what do you think is going to happen in the story? The title tells us, right? Mrs. McNosh is going to hang up her watch. So learning how to make those kinds of predictions. And you're going to just look and model keywords, talk about actions, and, you know, she's hanging things, and just really kind of go through your story on your picture walk first. And then you'll follow it with actually reading the book and modeling some of that vocabulary. But you're not expecting your students to actually read. You're reading to them, and you just want them to engage. And if your student is using an augmentative device, then you'll want to model some of that vocabulary that you find in their device. And it doesn't have to be specific vocabulary. So if your child doesn't have clothing in there, you don't have to go back and add those. What I want you to do is be using their core vocabulary. So you're going to model words like put on, and just go through the book like that. You're going to follow that with our E and our C, which is early writing. So you're going to write about the story or rewrite the story. So just have your child produce a sentence about what the story was about, or have them be silly about it and change an aspect of the story. So that would be your rewrite, just to get in a little bit of that. They're either verbalizing it or producing that on their AAC device and engagement with the story. The last E is for extension activities, which are going to increase our comprehension, focus on vocabulary development. And this is the part where you get to have a lot of fun. So You can come up with activities that are related to your story. So for the example of Mrs. McNosh hangs up her wash, one of your extension activities could be to create a clothesline inside your house. And you're going to have your child hang up some different target vocabulary. Or a more functional activity, you can fold some actual laundry. You know, talk about matching your socks or what parts of the body certain items of clothing go on. If you want to work on math, you can target different patterns on clothing. Just whatever your child needs to work on, you're doing some extension activities that are tying what they learned about in the book into your actual life. And that's just reinforcing that vocabulary and that comprehension. So now that you've learned about our C growth acronym, I'm going to be sharing with you some different resources and a sample that I got of a shared reading strategies for the book Mrs. McNosh Hangs Up Her Wash, that you can just kind of see some examples of what the specialist would point out about the cover, what they're talking about in the story, how they would use some different voices and actions and songs and pointing and questions to kind of target some different things in the story. And hopefully you find that helpful when you're thinking about the reading that you're doing with your students and how to kind of target those emergent literacy skills and get your kids to be really engaged in reading.